Ryan's like, yeah, Catie and I did something super inappropriate, but she's really hard to say no to. But yeah, I hurt you, so I apologize.
Can't trust his fiancé. She does what she wants when she wants.
Okay, so we need to talk about the moment where Catie asked a grown man if she could kiss him at her own birthday party, while her fiancé stood there watching. And by the time we get to the end of this, you are going to understand exactly why Josh finally put his coat on and walked out the door. And I promise you, the walkout is not even the wildest part of this story, because what happened after the episode aired might actually be worse than what happened in it. Hey, if you're new here, welcome to the channel where we break down the messiest couples in the 90 Day Fiancé universe. And this season, nobody, and I mean nobody, is bringing the mess quite like Catie and Josh. So let's set the scene, because if you haven't been following season 12, you need the backstory to really get how bad this birthday party actually was. Catie is 26. She's from Portland, Oregon. She's a digital nomad, she's a marathon runner, and by her own description, she is a free spirit. Josh is 30. He's from Cambridge, England. He's a web developer, and from minute one of this season, he has been the calm, steady, almost suspiciously patient one in this relationship. They got engaged back in February of 2024 in Turkey, and TLC basically told us from the jump that this was going to be a bumpy ride, because Catie's own show bio describes her, and I'm not exaggerating here, as having a spontaneous habit of making out with all of her friends, and even strangers. Let that sink in for a second. That's not fan speculation. That's not a tabloid headline. That is literally how the network chose to introduce her to America. And look, we've seen this play out already this season. A few episodes back, the two of them got into it over furniture of all things. Josh wanted a table and chairs so he didn't have to eat off the floor. Catie thought that was unnecessary. And what started as a fight about a dining set turned into something a lot deeper. Catie looked at him and said, and I quote, "I guess I just don't trust you yet with money and financial stuff." And Josh, in his confessional, admitted that comment cut deeper than any argument about furniture ever could. So we already knew heading into this episode that trust was the real fault line in this relationship. Not tables, not chairs, trust. And it gets messier, because it's also been reported that Catie took a 2-week trip with a male friend while she was already in a relationship with Josh. When Josh brought it up and asked how she'd feel if the roles were reversed, if he went off and partied with a group of women for 2 weeks, Catie actually admitted, on camera, that her position on this sounded hypocritical. She said it herself. Hypocritical. That's the word she chose. So going into this birthday party, we already know Catie has a track record of blurring lines with male friends. We already know Josh is at the end of his patience, and we already know she's aware that her own logic doesn't hold up. Keep all of that in your back pocket, because it's about to come crashing together in one bar. So here's the setup for the birthday party. It's Catie's birthday. She wants to go out. And if you're watching along with us, pay close attention to who actually gets invited, because it is basically an entire room of men. Her friend Ryan is there. And Ryan is not just some random guy from her running club. Ryan is someone she has reportedly hooked up with before, more than once. So Josh walks into this party already knowing the history, already knowing the vibe, and he still shows up, because that's who Josh is. He keeps showing up. And then it happens. Catie starts drinking, and the version of Catie that comes out is exactly the version her own bio warned us about. She turns to the room and asks, "Can I kiss everyone? Not can I hug everyone? Not can we take a shot? Can I kiss everyone?" And when that doesn't land the way she wants, she zeroes in on Ryan specifically. She wraps her arms around his neck. She leans in. Ryan, to his credit, presses his finger to her lips and pushes her back. She doesn't stop. She looks at him and says, "I want to kiss you." He tells her no. She keeps going anyway. At one point, another man in the group has to physically tell her, "No, we're not kissing Catie," because she is that persistent about it. And this whole time, where is Josh? He is standing there, watching his fiancée beg a man she's already hooked up with for a kiss, in public, at a party she planned. And you can see it on his face. This isn't confusion. This isn't him not understanding what's happening. This is a man doing math in real time and not liking the answer. Eventually, Ryan pulls away hard enough that even Catie seems to catch herself. She actually agrees with him when he tells her, "You're being crazy." And that's usually where a story like this would end, an awkward moment, an apology, moving on. But Josh doesn't wait for the apology. He puts on his coat, and he leaves. And on his way out, he says something quietly to himself that the cameras caught. He says, "This is bulls." That's it. 2 words. No yelling, no confrontation, just a man who has clearly hit a wall walking straight through the front door. And I want you to really sit with what he says afterward in his confessional, because this is the part that I think gets lost when people just clip the kissing moment and move on. Josh says he's been giving Catie a lot of slack, and that watching this happen felt like that slack was being thrown right back in his face. He says her behavior makes every single conversation they've had about boundaries feel pointless. And then he says the line that I think sums up this entire relationship right now. He says, "I thought we were past this, but clearly we're not." Read that again. "I thought we were past this, but clearly we're not." That's not a man who's shocked. That's a man who's exhausted. That's a man who has had this exact conversation before, thought it was resolved, and is now watching it happen again in real time, in front of an entire bar. Now, here's where the story would normally end for most recap channels. Episode airs, Josh walks out, we all have our opinions, we move on to the next couple. But this is where it gets interesting, because of what happened after the episode aired. Instead of addressing any of this, Catie's Instagram in the days following the episode looked like nothing happened. First, she posts a reel saying goodbye to an old mattress she'd apparently been sleeping on, framed as this quirky little life update. Fans were already side-eyeing that one. But then she posts another reel, and this one is the one that got people talking, a reel of her watching the infamous bar episode back with a group of girlfriends. Just the girls. Laughing about it. Very wholesome, very lighthearted, very much not addressing the fact that a room full of men had to physically tell her no during her own birthday party. And Reddit noticed immediately. One comment that's been circulating sums up exactly what a lot of fans are thinking. Someone pointed out that posting a staged girls' night the exact week people are questioning the guy-friend situation is about as transparent an optics play as you can get. And I have to say, when you line up the timeline like that, episode airs showing her chasing men around a bar, backlash hits, and within days she's suddenly surrounded exclusively by women on camera, it does not look like a coincidence. It looks like a strategy. Now, is that fair? I want to be honest with you guys. We don't actually know what's going on in Catie's head when she posts these things. Maybe it really is just a normal week in her life and the timing is a coincidence. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I can read her mind. But when the internet is already calling something out in real time, and then your response is a carefully curated, all-female friend group content dump, you can't really be surprised when people connect those dots. And Josh isn't staying quiet through any of this either. He's reportedly been posting his own defenses of why he's choosing to stay with Catie and pushing back pretty directly at fans who keep bringing up her behavior. Which, look, I get the instinct to protect your relationship publicly, but when the thing people are criticizing is a video of your fiancé getting physically pushed off multiple men in one night, defending her online doesn't really make the video disappear. It just makes people ask why he's more upset at the fans than at what actually happened. So where does this leave us? Well, here's the part that I think nobody is talking about yet, and it's honestly the biggest piece of this whole puzzle. TLC's own official description for this season already tells us that weeks before the wedding, Catie is going to drop a bombshell and ask Josh for an open marriage. Think about that for a second in the context of everything we just watched. A woman who already has a documented pattern of kissing friends while drunk, who took a trip with a male friend while in a relationship, who by her own admission knows her logic around it doesn't hold up, is about to ask her fiancé to open up their marriage. after a birthday party where he had to walk out because she wouldn't stop trying to kiss another man in front of him. I don't think that's a coincidence either. I think everything we watched this week was the setup, and the open marriage conversation is the actual explosion that's coming. So here's my honest take on all of this. I don't think Catie is some kind of villain, and I don't think her OCD explanation is automatically fake just because it's convenient timing. That's a genuine debate people with OCD themselves are having in the comments. And I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to sit here and diagnose her. But whatever the explanation is, the pattern is the pattern. And Josh, honestly, at some point, patience stops looking like love and starts looking like avoidance. He keeps saying he thought they were past this. At what point do you stop being surprised that you're not? So I want to know what you guys think. Is Josh the most patient man in this franchise's history, or is he ignoring every single red flag in front of him because he doesn't want to admit this relationship isn't working? Drop your honest take in the comments. I read every single one of them. And if you think this is messy, wait until you see what happens when that open marriage conversation actually airs. Because based on everything we just broke down, I don't think either one of them is ready for what that's going to bring up. Go check out our last video of this season if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one.